Hello, beautiful people. We are going live today with Michali to answer a question that's been posted on our forum. So we're just going to wait for Michali to pop on. Hello for people that are joining. Ouch. Just being myself. Hello, Michali. Let's add you. Let's see if I know how to do this. Yes. Let's do that. How's everyone doing today? Michali, I think I added you, but let's see. Try again. Why is it? 1 second. Invite. Thank you for joining, everybody. We're just waiting for Michali. We're going to answer a question. So strange. Michali, I keep inviting you, but it says you're unable to join. Wonder what that's about. Okay, let's see. Request, accept. Accept. Technical difficulties. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. We were getting too good at this thing. Instagram had to show us we don't really have it together.
I know, it's so weird how when I click, I'm clicking everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, good to see you. So we are up for this question. Depression or justified sadness, yes?
Yes. Okay. So the question reads, growing up, I had a childhood full of traumas. There was hardly a dull moment. As I go through my nonlinear healing journey, I like how they say nonlinear.
Yeah, they sound very therapized.
Exactly. I constantly grapple in my mind with this question. When I feel extremely sad, how do I know if it's depression or simply justified sadness? I get extremely hopeless very often and sometimes lose interest in things that once brought me joy, but it doesn't last for a long time usually. It's also very situational and doesn't usually come unexpectedly, but sometimes it does come when nothing particular is going too wrong, but not so often. I almost wish I had a diagnosis of depression just so that my deep sadness can feel more validated. Is this even normal?
Okay.
So, first of all, my heart goes out to this person. The thing that stood out to me at first was two things. One is that clearly they've been to some kind of therapy just from how they talk, and kudos to them for really learning how to live a healthy life despite their childhood experiences. The second thing that came out to me is that twice in this question, the writer, it feels like there needs to be some permission for them to feel depressed. And I first just want to say, you don't need any permission to feel depressed. Like your depression, your feelings are always valid. And nobody, even a therapist, can't validate that as much and as best as you can for yourself. Giving yourself permission to feel every feeling, even intense feelings like depression, is really important. I think that in order to get an actual diagnosis, they need to meet specific clinical criteria so that they can do with a therapist. But based on this information, I mean, there's not a lot of information. I don't know the history at all. I would say that it sounds like that there's some mourning and grief going on. It sounds like this person has been functional, again, despite their background, and that sometimes their depression just hits. I'd be curious to explore more when it is expected, what are those
Triggers
and triggers exactly. But I think considering their backgrounds and considering that they're on this healing path, I think the best thing that they can do is learn to accept these feelings and to own and to welcome them and say, hey, you've had a really tough time. Come here. Let me show you some compassion. Let me give you a hug. Let me nurture you and take care of you. So it would be a combination of like acceptance kind of work and inner child kind of work. And that can only facilitate deeper healing. Again, this is I just want to say this is a very general answer to a question that doesn't have all the information, understandable. So anyone listening, just keep in mind that if there's specific traumas, this is not a one size fits all. This is just the starting point.
I would add that I hope this person is in therapy currently, because it sounds like they definitely have some therapy background, but like it definitely sounds like there's still stuff to uncover and still stuff to work through, whether even if it's not going straight back to the past, but like some unresolved grief. Is like hitting intense feelings of sadness that feel so intense is just a sign of something that needs to be worked through. It doesn't mean that there's this massive ghost in the closet that was never dealt with. It just it's not a fun way to live. So give yourself that gift. And also to that last question of like, is this even normal that I wish I had the diagnosis? Like, yes, everything is normal. Like there's no definition for normal, because normal doesn't exist, because everything is normal, right? Or everything is okay. So like, I think that people usually fall out on two ends of the spectrum in terms of like, some people want a diagnosis and some people that's like the worst thing you can give them. I happen to hate labels. So like, for me, it's like, why would you want it? Like my first reaction when I was reading this after the compassion piece was like, let's answer this question, was like, why would you want that? Like, why do you want a diagnosis? Like, does it really matter? Like you're feeling these feelings, like you deserve to get helped through them and be supported and loved. And like, whether you have a diagnosis or not, like it doesn't matter. But then I remembered that like, no, some people really want that diagnosis to have that sign of like that kind of like closure piece, or like it makes sense, or they feel more normal with that, because it's hard to feel normal if that doesn't fit somewhere. So that's my piece. Like it's totally normal to want the diagnosis, but so you can go after that. Like you can go to a psychologist or a therapist and work towards getting a diagnosis if you feel like that's going to bring you a certain sense of relief or peace. But I would also explore with hopefully a therapist of like, why that is so important maybe, and if there's a way to heal without needing, like we're so complex, like even a diagnosis is not going to explain your entire life. You know what I mean? And it's not going to like add up every trauma that ever happened to every feeling. Like life and our feelings and our humanity just doesn't work like that. So it might give you some closure, or some sense of relief, and if it would, then go for it. But it's unlikely that would be like everlasting, because something else will come up and that might not fit into some box or check, luck list or something like that. And I get it. Like I like checklists and I like those things, but life is just like, we have to surrender to the complexity, and I think that's a piece of it here. So like, if you can let go of that and just be like, let me continue to heal, awesome. And if you can't, then like continue to heal with aiming to get some sort of closure piece to this question. But whatever it is, it's normal.
Yeah, and it's funny because I guess you and I represent both sides of the spectrum, because I definitely like getting diagnoses and getting labeled.
Yeah.
I love knowing where to put myself.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, this is the issue. Let's figure this out.
Totally.
Interesting, because with my clients, I do shy away from labels. But for myself personally, I love getting labeled for myself or with someone that I trust. So if a doctor tells me, Michali, you have X, or you're struggling with that, I welcome it, because then I kind of know, it gives me a sense of belonging. It tells me, okay, this is where you can go to. And the other piece of this is also that, sometimes with diagnoses, then it kind of doors open when it comes to support groups and proper medication, and just other options when it comes to treatment. But I completely agree with you that this is a complex case. And, a colleague of mine, I just very briefly this morning saw that they wrote something a little bit controversial in terms of, they said that borderline personality disorder may not even be an actual disorder, and it might just be a response from PTSD. And I think that similarly, because this person has trauma, it could be that the depression is simply a symptom of PTSD that's unresolved.
Correct.
I definitely agree with you. I feel the grief that this person is experiencing. And I just want to say, you know, when really bad things happen to us in our lives, it's okay to feel really, really, really sad about it, you know, and that's not abnormal, you know, both, you know, clinically and also just, you know, just regularly
Humanity.
in life.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And so I think that this person really ultimately is looking for permission to feel sad, and
Right.
they 100% deserve to give themselves that space to feel sad. And I'm going to just end with this. You know, I just watched the last episode of Grey's Anatomy. I'm not a big Grey's Anatomy person, but and there was this brilliant scene with Bailey, the doctor, who allowed this woman who was given really awful news before she went to go take care of everything. She basically brought her into a patient exam room and said, let it all out. Cry, scream, be devastated. Just give yourself that space to just feel devastated and grieve. And I just want to extend that to this person and say, give yourself that space and permission just to grieve and to be sad. Don't push it away. And of course, get the support that you need.
Right.
Everyone deserves that support.
Exactly. And as adults, we need to get it. Like, you know, I think as kids, we kind of like, you know, like when a kid's in a bad mood, a parent or some authority figure oftentimes comes and rescues them. And as adults, like that doesn't happen. Like we need to rescue ourselves by like telling the adult or the authority or whoever it is to help us and ask for that help. And sometimes, you know, get a no and then go somewhere else. And that's just part of, you know, growing up. So yeah, like get that. So feel that pain. I love how you ended with that. Like feel that pain. It's okay. But also make sure you have those proper supports in place to help you through that process. Because otherwise it might just be more traumatic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
All right. We're way over our 7 minutes, but it was so fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Have a good one, Sally.
I will see you 12:30 next week on Tuesday.
Awesome. Likewise. Looking forward. Take care. Thank you for tuning in, people. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And this.